digging around since I posted the weather transitions, and I finally figured out how to use the WeatherFade argument, and I thought I would just post it in a mini follow-up here. So the idea is if you wanted to do a time lapse between night and day, it is possible using the weather logic asset in conjunction with timed events and the WeatherFade argument. So let's look at how you'd set that up. I'm going to start off by creating two logic assets. So notice we can grab the weather asset from the far right, the fifth one over, but I'm going to actually start with a logic asset, a bare bones one. I'm going to place it down. In fact, I'll place two of them. And I'm going to use the behavior from the synchronized menu that gives us access to the weather switcher. And for that weather switcher, I'm going to edit its logic. I'm going to say wait for message, and I'm going to set the nighttime message with night on, and I'm going to switch it to the preset for night. I could of course use the custom, which opens up a huge range of possibilities here for setting all kinds of different looks, different planets, alien planets, parts of the world, etc. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add another message to this switcher, and I'm going to use the WeatherFade argument and add it here. Now this doesn't give me access to time, which is really important with the WeatherFade, but we'll get to that in just a moment. So I'm going to also do the same thing for the daytime behavior. I'm going to switch the client to the synchronized and use the weather switcher. And this time, waiting for the message, I'm going to switch it to daytime on. Actually, let's use the daytime on, and I'll use noon. It's like an intense noon, so we're going from intense night to intense day. The same deal, right? We're going to need to add another message to the switcher, and we're going to tell it to use the weather fade. Okay, so from here now, we're going to get nothing because we're sending a message, or we need to send a message to the weather logic asset in order for them to work. So we're just getting our default environment here. We need to bring in a timed event for that, and for that I'm going to again pick up another logic asset. And this time I'm going to give it a synchronized behavior, but this time give it a timed event. And in terms of how it's going to work, I'm not going to wait for a message. We're just going to have it trigger straight away. And what I need to do, I could make it resettable as well, but since it's just going to start right from the beginning, I'm not going to worry about this part of it right now. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up two events. I'm going to set up one event for the nighttime and one event for the high noon, for the intense daytime. So let's set this up so that we can track it. So there's our night event. I'm going to add a second event and call it day. The message that triggers the night event is going to be the main one, the night.on. So we get that. We don't need to send tags unless we want to specify that. And I'm going to do the same thing with the day event. So the day event is going to be triggered by the day.on message. So this is where sub-events come into play. The sub-event is useful because this is where we're going to put our WeatherFade effect, and we can actually specify how long we want that effect to take place over. So relative to the parent node, the night, I want the message to be sent. So if I do a WE to search, we get the argument in yellow for the WeatherFade, and now we get a time attribute within our sub-event. And I can specify that time to be, I don't know, let's say it switches from day to night in 30 seconds. So that fade is going to be 30 seconds, and that means that the day event has to take place at least 30 seconds after the night event for this transition to work properly. So I'm going to set the start time of the day event. So this is relative to the start of the entire timed event sequence that's on this behavior. I'm going to set it to 30. And I don't believe I need to set a sub-event name for it because I'm not fading from the day to anything else. So I should just be able to hit tab. And I should be able to start getting the, yeah, there we go. So you can see we're getting the fade working now. Sun's rising. And that's very cool. And so we're getting a high intense noon overhead, so it should be stopping right above me. Unless it doesn't. Oh, interesting. Look at that. Oh, there we go. So it does. It stays straight up above me here. So that's basically it. If you're looking to create this effect, you're just needing to create the WeatherFade message on the night to day transition. And if we actually wanted to, we could switch back to night again. So we could actually set this to reset. Let me just tweak this a little bit. I'm going to set it to be very fast. Let's go with like 10 seconds. We'll have the day start at 10 seconds. And we'll also set a sub event on the day. We could set a weather fade effect. Relative time wise, it's also going to start at 10 seconds, and its message is going to be weather fade, which is going to take 10 seconds, and we'll have it fade into nighttime again. So let's see if I add another timed event. I think I would need to actually set another one of these. I don't know if I'd be able to create a loop. Actually, you know what? Let me get rid of the element 3, because I think this reset effect should just carry on. It should just wait for the message and then carry on again. So let's try that. So we're going to get a very fast 10-second switch from day to night, or night to day. I know, in this case it just kind of hangs out there. There's nothing for it to really transition to. So what if I wanted to go back to night? Well, I could duplicate this one, and I could call this night.on.2. We'll use the same weather fade argument on it. It's going to use the same night preset. So now when we get our night to day transition takes 10 seconds. Day comes on at 10 seconds, and in an additional 10 seconds, it transitions to another timed event. So we'll call this event 2. And its time starts at 20 seconds, and the message required for it is night.on.2. No tags. And I don't believe it needs the weather fade itself, so if I add that, it would be if I was going to be chaining this to another one as well. So this would be another weather fade effect. The relative time on this one should be relative to night 2, so it should be 20 seconds in. So now we should get a day to night, back to day. So let me just double check that. So we've got our night. It starts at 0, 10 seconds right away. We hit day at 10 seconds. Relative to the day at 10 seconds, 10 seconds starts. To 20 seconds, night comes back on. And then from 20 seconds on, night could loop back on itself again. Back to night and then back to day. Let's give that another whirl. So we have our sunrise. And it doesn't look like it wants to transition back to day, back to night. Oh, there we go. So it's interesting, it doesn't actually make it 360, like a circumnavigation. It just kind of goes back to the sun comes back down the other way. So it's almost like time is going backwards. So that's kind of interesting. And here we're up on loop again. So this is looping now, which is just kind of cool. Spending 10 seconds in the daytime. It'll wait a little bit, and then transition back to night. So it's a pretty cool effect. I think there's probably a lot more utility to it than what I've shown. This is just scratching the surface, but I thought it would be useful to add this on to the immediate weather changes if you're switching from one type of scene to another. This could be a little bit more interesting when your game takes place over, say, the course of a day or the course of a night to a morning. In any event, I hope you found this useful. My name is John Crow, and I will again talk to you soon, releasing more of these 0.8 dives into the new features and how we can take advantage of them in the Game Maker. Take care, everybody. Have a good day. Oh, it looks like an eclipse there. Oh, look at that. Almost an eclipse.